The sun had just set behind the tall mountains when Jack stepped off his small scout ship. He had landed on a new planet, one that no human had visited before. The sky was a deep purple, filled with stars that looked different from those on Earth. The air smelled fresh but strange, like a mix of wet soil and something sweet. Jack was an explorer. His job was to learn about new worlds, find resources, and maybe make friends with any alien life he could find. But this planet was different. It felt alive in a way he could not explain. The trees were tall and twisted, with glowing leaves that shone softly in the dark. Strange sounds came from the forest, a mix of bird calls and something else, something unfamiliar. Jack took his backpack and flashlight and started walking toward the forest. He wanted to see if there was any life. Nearby, his boots crunched on dry leaves and broken branches as he moved carefully through the trees. The forest was quiet, but every few steps, he heard a soft sound, like a small animal crying at first. He thought it was just the wind, but the crying continued, soft and weak. Jack stopped and listened. The sound was coming from behind a large rock not far from him. He moved closer and shone his flashlight around. There, trapped under a fallen branch, was a small creature. It looked like a mix of a dog and a deer, but unlike anything Jack had seen before. Its fur was a shiny blue with white spots, and its big eyes looked at him with pain and fear. The creature was shaking and weak. Jack's heart beat fast. He knew he had to help. He dropped his bag and knelt beside the animal. Carefully, he lifted the branch with all his strength. The creature whimpered, but did not run away. Jack pulled out his medical kit from his backpack. He checked the creature's leg. It was hurt badly, with a deep cut. Jack cleaned the wound with antiseptic and wrapped it with cloth strips. The creature's eyes seemed to trust him now, and it let out a soft, thankful sound. Suddenly, the creature's eyes glowed faintly. In the dark, Jack blinked in surprise. He had never seen an animal do that before. He felt a small warmth spread from the creature's eyes to his own hands. "Easy now," Jack whispered. "You're safe." After a while, the creature tried to stand. Its leg was still weak, but it did not fall. Jack smiled. "You're stronger than you look." The creature nuzzled his hand gently and then ran off into the dark forest, leaving a soft blue light behind it for a moment before fading away. Jack stood up, feeling a strange mix of excitement and worry. Who was this creature? Why did it glow like that? Why did it seem so special? He looked around. The forest was silent again. He knew he should go back to his ship before night got colder, but something kept him there. He wanted to learn more about this strange planet and the mysterious animal he had saved. As Jack started walking back, he didn't notice the glowing eyes watching him from the shadows behind a tree. A soft voice whispered in the wind, "You have saved the pet of the princess." ... The next morning, Jack woke up in his small tent. The sun's light filtered through the thin fabric. His body ached from the hard ground, but his mind was busy. Thinking about the creature, he packed his things quickly and headed toward the village he had seen from his ship the day before. He hoped to find some answers about the strange animal and maybe meet some locals. The village was small but busy. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around the market, selling fruits, tools, and fabrics that shone like stars. Jack's presence caught many eyes, but no one seemed hostile. Jack found a small stall where an old alien man sat, carving wood with careful hands. He had purple skin, 2 long ears, and eyes that seemed very wise. "Hello," Jack said. "Need help?" "Last night, I found a strange creature hurt in the forest. Do you know anything about it?" The old man looked up slowly. His eyes narrowed as if remembering something important. "The forest holds many secrets," he said softly. "But you speak of the princess's pet." "Yes," Jack blinked. "Princess pet?" The old man nodded. "Yes, our princess has a special pet, a creature of power and grace. It is rare and sacred. Many fear it, but the princess loves it deeply." Jack's heart skipped a beat. Could the creature he helped be that pet? Why would anyone want to hurt such a creature? Jack asked. Because it holds the key to our kingdom's future, the old man replied. If the pet is captured, the princess's power weakens. Our enemies would use that chance to strike. Jack felt a chill. He did not know much about this alien world, but he realized he might have stepped into something bigger than he expected. Where can I find the princess? Jack asked. The old man looked around and whispered, The palace is hidden.
Oh.
Its location, only the trusted may enter. Jack nodded. I want to help. I don't want this creature to get hurt. The old man smiled faintly. Then you walk a dangerous path, human. As Jack left the market, he felt eyes on him from every corner. The villagers whispered among themselves. Some looked afraid, others curious. Jack realized that his small act of kindness had made him a part of a bigger story. That night, as Jack prepared to sleep, he heard the strange cry again. This time it was closer, louder. He grabbed his flashlight and went outside. The blue glow appeared near the edge of the forest. The creature came out, limping, but alive. It looked at Jack and then at the sky, as if calling for help. Jack stepped forward slowly. I'm here, he said. Don't be afraid. Suddenly, the creature's eyes shone brighter than before. Jack felt a strange energy surround them both. The trees seemed to lean closer, the air thick with magic. A soft voice echoed in his mind. Protect her. Protect the pet. Jack gasped and looked around. There was no one else there, but the voice was clear. He understood now. This creature was not just an animal. It was part of something important, something tied to the alien princess and her kingdom. Jack made a promise to himself, no matter what came, he would protect the creature. And maybe, just maybe, he would find his place on this strange, glowing world. The morning sun rose slowly, painting the sky with soft oranges and pinks. Oh, Jack woke inside his tent, but sleep had left him restless. His thoughts raced with questions about the strange creature he had helped the night before. Was it really the princess's pet? And what dangers might follow because of it? He stepped outside and breathed the fresh air of the alien world. The forest stood nearby, calm and mysterious in the daylight. Jack felt a pull toward the village where he hoped to learn more. As he walked down the dirt path, Jack noticed villagers starting their day. Some were carrying baskets of strange fruits. Others were repairing tools made from metals he had never seen. The aliens were different shapes and sizes, tall with thin arms, short with broad shoulders. Some with bright skin colors that changed with their moods. A group of villagers gathered near the market square, their voices low but urgent. Jack approached cautiously, wanted to talk about the creature and the princess, but as he got closer, the crowd's mood felt tense. The people spoke of fear and anger. Suddenly an alien woman stepped forward. Her skin was pale green, her eyes sharp and bright. She wore simple clothes, but moved with strength and confidence. Jack recognized her from the market, the one who had spoken quietly about the forest. You, human, she said, pointing at him. We warned you not to go near the forest last night, but you disobeyed. Jack raised his hands calmly. Didn't know. I found an injured creature. I helped it. Want to keep it safe. The woman's eyes narrowed. That creature is the princess's pet. It is sacred and powerful. You don't understand what you have done. Before Jack could respond, more villagers gathered around, their faces serious. One older man, tall and thin with silver hair, stepped forward. The pet is not just an animal, he said gravely. It is linked to the very soul of our kingdom. If it is harmed, our people suffer. Jack felt the weight of his actions. Had only wanted to help, but now he realized that he might have brought danger not only to the creature, but to the entire alien world. Why is the pet so important? Jack asked, his voice steady but curious. The old man looked at him with tired eyes. Long ago, our princess was given a gift, a creature born from the stars themselves. This pet carries the power to protect us from dark forces beyond our planet. It is a symbol of hope and strength. Jack's mind raced. Creature from the stars. This was no ordinary animal. The green-skinned woman spoke again, softer this time. Enemies know of this power. They want to steal the pet to weaken our princess and take control. You must be careful, human. The forest is no longer safe. Jack looked toward the trees. The place where he had found the creature suddenly seemed more dangerous. What kind of enemies were they talking about? Was one of the villagers a young man? With sharp eyes, stepped forward. Hunters have been seen near the forest edges. They seek the pet to sell it or use its power. We must protect the princess and her pet. Jack's heart pounded. Hunters. People who would harm the creature for their gain. He could not let that happen. I want to help, Jack said firmly. Tell me what I can do. The villagers exchanged looks. The old man spoke again. It is risky to trust a human. But your kindness to the pet shows your heart. We will help you learn more. He motioned for Jack to follow him. Together, they walked to the edge of the village where the trees met the sky. There, the old man said, pointing at a tall tree with glowing leaves. This forest is ancient. It hides secrets and dangers alike. Jack looked carefully and saw faint footprints near the tree roots. Are these from the hunters? Yes, the old man said. They have been scouting, waiting for the right moment. Jack's mind flashed back to the creature's glowing eyes. Was its power enough to stop these hunters? Suddenly, a sharp noise broke the calm. From the bushes nearby, a small group of villagers appeared, carrying supplies and weapons. They wore serious expressions. The leader, a tall woman with silver hair tied in a braid, approached Jack. You have made friends here, human. But be warned, this world is not kind to outsiders. Jack nodded. I understand. I don't want to cause trouble. I only want to help. The silver-haired woman smiled faintly. Then you will need more than goodwill. You will need to learn how we live, how we fight. She handed Jack a simple wapena, staff made of dark wood and wrapped in leather. This is not just a stick, she said. It is a symbol of our strength and unity. If you stand with us, you will need it. Jack took the staff carefully, feeling its weight. He had never held a weapon like this, but he knew he had to be ready. As the sun climbed higher, the villagers gathered in a circle to talk. Jack sat among them, listening. They told stories of past battles and old enemies. They spoke of the princess and her rare gift, the pet. The creature's powers were said to connect with the land itself, healing and protecting. Jack learned that the pet was more than a companion. It was a guardian of the planet's life. Without it, darkness could spread. The villagers warned him that many dangers lay ahead. The hunters were only the beginning. Shadowy forces from distant worlds wanted the pet's power for themselves. Jack felt a heavy burden settle on his shoulders. He had no choice now. He was part of this story, this fight. As evening came, Jack returned to his tent. The staff in hand, the forest whispered around him, alive and watchful. He thought about the creature, the pet, the princess. A sudden noise startled him. Outside his tent, the blue glow appeared again. Jack opened the flap and saw the creature, weak but steady. It looked at him with eyes full of trust. Jack knelt beside it. We will protect you, no matter what. The creature nuzzled his hand softly from the shadows. Jack heard a low growl. He stood quickly, holding the staff ready. A figure stepped into the moonlight, a hunter, dark and fierce, eyes cold. Leave. Now, human, the hunter said. This is no place for you. Jack raised the staff. I'm not leaving without the pet. The hunter smiled cruelly, then prepared to fight. Jack's heart beat fast. The village was behind him. The forest was alive with secrets, and this was only the beginning. Jack stood firm, gripping the wooden staff tightly. The hunter in front of him was unlike any enemy he had faced before. Tall and muscular, clad in dark armor made from strange metals, the hunter's eyes burned with cold hatred. Round them, the forest seemed to hold its breath. You don't understand what you're up against, human, the hunter said with a low voice. This pet belongs to no one but the princess. But if you refuse to step aside, you will fall with it. Mine raced. He could not let this stranger harm the creature he had promised to protect. The glowing pet was his responsibility now, even if he barely understood its full power. Then I'll fight, Jack replied, stepping forward suddenly. More figures of the trees, more figures appeared. Hunters, armed and ready, surrounded Jack and the pet. Their faces were hidden beneath helmets, but their intent was clear: capture the creature at any cost. Jack's heart pounded. The villagers had warned him, but he had not expected an attack so soon. The pet, sensing danger, let out a low growl, its blue eyes flashing fiercely in the dark. Jack glanced at the creature. Despite its small size, it seemed ready to defend. It self-fanned him. One hunter lunged forward, swinging a heavy blade. Jack raised his staff just in time to block the strike. The impact shook his arms, but he held firm. Another hunter charged at Jack from the side. Jack twisted and swung the staff, hitting the hunter's arm. The hunter stumbled back, surprised by Jack's strength. The pet moved with speed and grace, weaving between the hunter's legs and striking with sharp claws that glowed faintly. Each hit left the hunter stumbling, confused by the creatures power. Jack realized the pet was more than just an animal, it was a fighter. But the hunters were many. Slowly they closed in. Jack ducked under a swinging sword and struck a hunter's leg. The hunter fell with a grunt, but more came. Suddenly, the pet let out a loud, piercing howl. The sound was unlike anything Jack had heard before, wild, powerful, and filled with magic. The ground beneath their feet trembled. Trees shook. Leaves fell like rain. The hunters paused, eyes wide with fear. Jack looked around. The forest was coming alive. Roots burst from the ground, twisting and turning like snakes. Branches stretched out, blocking the hunters' paths. Jack's heart soared. The pet's power was awakening the forest itself, but the hunters were not easily stopped. One shouted, "Orders!" and a hunter fired a strange weapon, a bolt of bright light that flew toward Jack. Jack dove to the side just in time. The bolt hit a tree, setting it ablaze. Smoke filled the air. The pet growled again and leaped toward the hunters. Its claws glowed brighter, and where it touched, the hunters felt a strange weakness, as if their strength was draining away. Jack used the moment to push back. He swung his staff at the nearest hunter, knocking the weapon from his hand. The hunters faltered, confused and scared. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the forest. From behind the trees, a huge creature appeared, massive, with scales shining like metal and eyes burning red. The hunters froze. The giant beast roared again and charged at them. Jack stepped back, amazed. The giant was the pet's protector. Together, the pet and the giant pushed the hunters back. The forest became a wild battlefield. The hunters shouted and fought, but the power of the pet and the giant was too strong. One by one, the hunters retreated, disappearing into the shadows. Jack breathed heavily, his heart still racing. The pet walked to him, its eyes soft and calm again. Jack knelt and touched its glowing fur. "We made it," he said quietly. The giant beast lowered its head, as if to thank Jack. But Jack knew this was only the first battle. The hunters would return, and next time they would come with more soldiers. Jack looked at the forest, now quiet. Again, he felt a mix of fear and hope. He had promised to protect the pet, and he would keep that promise. No matter what, as the sun set, Jack and the pet returned to the village, where worried eyes watched their return. The villagers gathered, eager to hear what had happened. Jack told them about the attack, about the hunters and the forest's strange power. The old man who had guided him nodded gravely. "The pet's power is strong, but so are the hunters' numbers. We must prepare." Jack looked at the villagers' determined faces. They were ready to fight for their home and their princess. That night Jack could not sleep, thought about the pet, the hunters, and the hidden dangers still lurking. A soft glow filled his tent. The pet lay beside him, its eyes glowing faintly. Jack reached out and held its paw. "We'll face this together," he whispered. The pet's glow grew stronger, and Jack felt a warm energy flow through him. He closed his eyes, knowing the battle was just the beginning of a greater journey. The morning light spilled softly through the tall trees, casting long shadows on the forest floor. Jack awoke with a strange feeling in his chest, an urgency he couldn't explain. The events of the last days weighed on him heavily. The battle with the hunters, the pet's power. And the warnings from the villagers all stirred inside his mind like a restless storm. The pet was lying quietly beside him, its blue eyes half closed but still shimmering faintly. Jack reached out and gently touched its fur. The creature stirred and nuzzled his hand softly.
Ow.
There was a silent understanding between them now. They were no longer just a human and a strange alien animal. They were partners, linked by trust. And fate. Jack sat up and looked around. The forest seemed different today, calmer, yet full of hidden strength. He remembered the old man's words. The princess's palace was hidden somewhere nearby, and the pet would lead him there. "Are you ready?" Jack whispered. The pet blinked slowly and stood. It limped a little from its wounds but walked steadily toward the east. Jack grabbed his bag and followed closely. They moved through the thick trees and glowing bushes, deeper into the forest than Jack had ever gone before. Strange plants brushed against his arms, and faint sounds echoed in the distance. The air felt warmer here, almost alive. After an hour of walking, the pet stopped at a clearing. Jack's breath caught in his throat. Before him stood a palace unlike any he had seen. It was built from shining crystal and metal that reflected the sunlight like 1,000 tiny stars. The walls glowed softly with a light that seemed to come from inside. Strange symbols were carved into every surface, ancient, beautiful, and mysterious. Jack's heart raced. This must be the princess's home. The pet stepped forward and let out a low call. From behind the palace's tall gates, figures began to appear. At first, soldiers in gleaming armor stood watchful. But then, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like moonlight and eyes that held the wisdom of ages. Jack's breath caught. This was the alien princess. She moved toward him with quiet strength, her gaze fixed on the pet at Jack's side. Her eyes softened with relief and gratitude. "You have returned my pet safely," she said in a voice both strong and gentle. Jack bowed his head slightly. "I only did what I could. I didn't know. It was yours." The princess smiled faintly. "Few do. This creature is more than a pet. It is my companion, my protector, and the heart of our kingdom's power." Jack looked at the pet with new understanding. This small creature carried the weight of a whole world. The princess turned her gaze. "To Jack, you have bravery and kindness, human, qualities rare among strangers. But you must understand the danger you now face." Jack met her eyes. "I'm ready to help. Tell me what I must do," she nodded. "First, you must learn about our kingdom and the forces that threaten it." She led Jack inside the palace, where walls shimmered with light and strange machines hummed softly. In the center of a large room, a glowing map showed their planet and the stars beyond. "The hunters you fought are only a small part of a larger threat," the princess explained. "Beyond our skies, dark forces seek to control the power of the PTN through it, to conquer our world." Study the map, feeling the weight of the fight ahead. "Why do they want the pet's power?" he asked. "The pet is linked to the life of the planet," she said. "They control it. They can drain the energy from our world, leaving it lifeless and weak." Jack's mind flashed to the glowing trees and the energy he had felt in the forest. This was more than magic. It was the planet itself. The princess's eyes grew serious. "That is why I must protect the pet at all costs. Why I must ask for your help." Jack felt the weight of her words, but also a strange pride. He had never imagined himself a protector of an alien kingdom. "Tell me what to do," he said. The princess smiled softly. "For now, you will stay here and train with my guards. You must learn to fight in our way and understand our people." Jack nodded, ready for whatever came. Days passed and Jack trained hard. The guards taught him how to use the strange weapons of the planet and how to move silently through the forest. He learned about the history of the kingdom, the ancient wars, and the sacred bond between the princess and her pet. The pet stayed close, healing slowly, but always alert. It seemed to watch over Jack as much as the other way around. One evening, as Jack rested in a quiet garden filled with glowing flowers, the princess approached. "You have done well," she said. But there is something you must see. She led him to a secret chamber deep inside the palace. There, a large window looked out onto the forest. Jack saw shadows moving, hunters preparing to strike again. They will come soon, the princess said. We must be ready. Jack felt a surge of determination. Then we fight. The princess placed a hand on his shoulder. Together, outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying a warning. The battle for the pet, the princess, and the planet was only beginning. The sun was just beginning to rise when Jack stood at the edge of the palace grounds. The soft light painted the crystal walls with shades of gold and pink, where there was little time for beauty or rest. The warning from the princess echoed in his mind. The hunters would return soon, and their numbers would be greater. Jack tightened the straps of his gear and adjusted the wooden staff at his side. Beside him, the glowing pet stood quietly, its eyes shining with steady determination. The bond between them had grown stronger. No longer was the pet a helpless creature, it was a fierce guardian, and Jack was ready to stand with it. The princess approached, her face calm but serious. The hunters will strike at night, she said softly. If we wait for them here, many will be lost. We must act first. Jack nodded. What do you want me to do? She handed him a small device, a map that projected a glowing blue light in the air. There is a camp where the hunters gather, near the edge of the dark forest. If we strike there, we can stop them before they reach the palace. Jack studied the map. The dark forest was a dangerous place, known for twisting paths and strange creatures. Few dared to enter. The mission is risky, the princess warned. But if we succeed, the hunters will lose their advantage. Jack felt a surge of determination. Then we leave tonight. As dusk fell, Jack, the pet, and a small group of the princess's best warriors set out. The forest welcomed them, with silence and shadows. The glowing plants lit their way, casting eerie patterns on the ground. The pet moved ahead, its senses sharp and alert. Jack followed closely, his heart beating steadily, but with nervous excitement. This was his first real mission alongside the aliens he now called friends. The warriors communicated in quiet clicks and whispers, moving as one. Jack watched and learned quickly, trying to match their silent steps. After hours of careful travel, the group reached the hunters' camp. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of metal. Figures moved around campfires, sharpening weapons and talking in harsh voices. Jack felt his pulse quicken. They were outnumbered, but surprise was on their side. The princess's warriors readied their weapons. Jack gripped his staff, feeling the weight of responsibility. Suddenly the pet stepped forward and let out a low growl. The hunters looked up, sensing danger. Without warning, the group attacked. The battle erupted like thunder. The warriors moved with precision, striking quickly and quietly. Jack swung his staff at a hunter charging toward the pet. The hunter grunted and fell. The pet was a whirlwind of motion, its glowing claws slashing through the enemy. Wherever it touched, the hunters seemed to weaken, as if the energy of the planet itself fought with them. Jack felt a strange power flow through him, warmth that made his arms stronger and his movements sharper. Despite their skill, the hunters fought fiercely. Some pulled strange weapons that fired bolts of light and energy. Jack dodged and blocked, his training and courage keeping him alive. One hunter tried to flank Jack. The human spun and struck with his staff, knocking the attacker back. Above the noise of battle, Jack heard a shout of warning. A group of hunters had surrounded the pet, trying to capture it with nets glowing faintly with energy. Jack's heart pounded. He rushed to help with a fierce yell. Jack broke through the hunters and shattered the nets with his staff. The pet shook free and roared loudly. The sound echoed through the forest, shaking trees and scattering enemies. The hunters hesitated, fear flashing in their eyes. Jack and the pet pressed the attack, pushing the hunters back toward the edge of the camp. Suddenly, the hunters raised a strange device, one that sent out a bright pulse. Jack staggered, his vision blurring. The pet howled and charged the device, smashing it with a powerful strike. The hunters faltered, then fled into the forest, their shouts fading. Jack sank to his knees. Breathing hard, the pet nuzzled him, eyes soft and steady. The warriors gathered around, cheering softly. The mission was a success, as the group made their way back to the palace. Jack felt a mix of exhaustion and pride. The princess awaited them, her face radiant with relief. "You fought well," she said, her voice warm. Jack looked at the pet, now quiet and calm. "We did it together," he replied. The princess smiled. "This victory is small, but important. The hunters will come again, stronger and more dangerous." Jack nodded, understanding the battle was far from over. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have proven yourself. You are no longer a stranger." Here Jack felt a new sense of belonging. He looked at the glowing pet and whispered, "Whatever comes next, we face it as one." Outside, the stars twinkled in the clear sky. The forest hummed with life and magic. A new chapter had begun for Jack, the princess, and her pet. The night was dark and heavy. The stars blinked faintly through thick clouds that rolled low over the alien forest. Jack stood at the palace gates, his breath visible in the cool air. The tension was like a weight pressing down on him, heavier than any battle armor he had worn around him. The princess's warriors prepared for what they all knew was coming, the hunters' final assault. Fires blazed along the walls, casting flickering shadows on faces set with determination and fear. Jack looked down at the pet lying beside him. The creature's glowing blue eyes met his. There was no fear, there only fierce loyalty and quiet strength. "We're ready," Jack whispered. The princess approached, her steps sure and steady. Her silver hair caught the firelight, and her eyes held a fierce light of command. "This night will decide our future," she said softly. "The hunters want to take the pet, and with it, our hope. But we will not let them." Jack nodded. "We'll fight for you, for the kingdom, for the pet." The princess smiled, a small, proud smile.
"Together?"
As the moon climbed high, the forest fell silent. Suddenly a sound shattered the stillness, a low, distant roar followed by the sharp clatter of armor. The hunters had come. Jack's heart raced. The battle was here. From the shadows the hunters emerged, dozens strong, their dark armor glinting in the firelight. They carried strange weapons that hummed with deadly energy. The palace gates slammed shut behind them, locking the hunters in. The air filled with cries and shouts as the two forces clashed. Jack swung his staff with practiced skill, knocking weapons aside and striking where the hunters were weakest. The pet moved beside him, a blur of glowing claws and fierce growls. Tearing through the enemy lines, the warriors fought with courage. But the hunters were relentless. Jack saw the princess rallying her people, her voice rising above the chaos. Giving orders and hope, the pet let out a powerful howl, and the ground beneath them shook. Trees bent and moved, roots twisting to block the hunter's path. Jack felt the power of the planet surge through the piton through himself. But the hunters had a secret. From behind, a massive war machine emerged, metal plates shining under the moonlight. It fired blasts of energy that tore through trees and soldiers alike. The hunters pushed forward, aiming to break the palace's defenses. Jack's breath caught. They were losing ground. The pet growled and charged at the war machine, claws glowing bright. It leapt and struck the metal beast, sparks flying where claws met armor. Jack followed, striking at the hunters guarding the machine. The battle raged, fierce and wild. Suddenly, Jack was separated from the pet. He found himself face to face with the hunter leader, the same cold-eyed warrior who had challenged him before. The leader sneered, "You're brave, human, but this ends now." Jack raised his staff. "I won't let you win." The hunter attacked with a fierce blow, but Jack dodged and countered. Their weapons clashed with sparks flying. Jack remembered his training, the princess's words, the bond with the pet. With a swift move, Jack struck the hunter's arm, disarming him. But the leader smiled cruelly and pulled out a hidden blade. Jack barely blocked the strike, feeling the cold steel graze his armor. The fight was close and deadly. Meanwhile, the pet faced the war machine alone. The creature's claws glowed, brighter than ever, flames licking from its fur. It unleashed a powerful roar that shook the ground and sent a wave of energy crashing against the machine. The metal beast shuddered but did not fall. Jack fought harder, pushing the hunter leader back step by step. Suddenly the pet's roar reached him, filling him with strength. Jack felt a strange energy surge through his veins. He moved faster, struck harder. With one final blow, Jack knocked the hunter leader to the ground. The leader gasped, defeated. Jack stood over him, breathing heavily. This is not your world to take. At that moment, the war machine sparked and cracked. The pet leapt onto it, clawing and biting. The machine groaned and began to collapse. With a loud crash, it fell to the ground. Defeated, the hunters saw their leader fall and their war machine destroyed. Their morale broke, one by one. They fled into the forest, disappearing into the shadows. Battle was over. Jack and the pet stood among the ruins, breathing heavily but victorious. The princess approached, her face glowing with pride and relief. "You have saved us all," she said softly. Jack smiled, feeling the weight of their gratitude. The pet nuzzled his hand, eyes shining with trust. Together, they had faced the darkness and won as dawn broke over the alien forest. Jack looked out at the peaceful land. He knew the fight might come again someday, but for now, the kingdom was safe, and he was home. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of soft pink and gold. The battle was over. The hunters had fled, their dark shadows swallowed by the dense alien forest. Peace had returned to the land, at least for. Now Jack stood on the palace balcony, gazing out over the glowing trees and sparkling rivers. The world around him seemed to breathe with new life. The forest whispered with the sound of waking creatures, and the air carried a fresh scent of hope. Beside him, Pet now, stronger and more radiant than ever, stood quietly, its blue eyes reflecting the rising sun. The creature's wounds had healed, its glow steady and bright. Jack smiled, feeling the bond between them deeper than words could say. Suddenly, footsteps approached behind him. The princess appeared, her presence calm and regal. Her eyes, shining like stars, met Jack's with a warmth that spoke of gratitude and trust. "You have done more than save my pet," she said softly. "You have saved my kingdom, and in doing so, you have become part of our story." Jack shook his head. "I was just a stranger who wanted to help," the princess smiled. "Sometimes strangers become heroes." She gestured toward the courtyard below, where villagers and warriors gathered, celebrating their victory. Children laughed and chased glowing butterflies. While elders spoke of new hopes, Jack looked down and felt a strange mix of pride and humility. This world, so different from his own, had become a home. Later in the grand hall of the palace, the princess held a ceremony to honor those who had fought bravely. Jack stood among the warriors, feeling both out of place and deeply connected. When it was his turn, the princess stepped forward and presented him with a small, shining stone, a symbol of unity between their worlds. "This stone binds you to us," she said. "It is a sign of friendship, trust, and a promise of new beginnings." Jack took the stone carefully, feeling its gentle warmth. "I accept," he said. "Yes. And I promise to protect this kingdom, its people, and the pet." The hall filled with applause, and Jack felt a deep sense of belonging. Days passed, and life in the kingdom slowly returned to normal. Jack trained with the warriors, learning their customs and ways. He explored the glowing forests with the pet by his side, discovering wonders he had never imagined. The pet, once a fragile creature, now moved with confidence and power. It often led Jack to hidden places, ancient ruins, sparkling lakes, and secret groves filled with glowing flowers. One afternoon, while resting beside a clear stream, Jack asked the pet a question he had long wondered about. "Why did you choose me?" The creature tilted its head and gave a soft sound, almost like a laugh. Jack smiled. "I think I was lucky." The pet's eyes shone brighter, and Jack felt a warm connection, as if the creature was saying, "We were meant to find each other." One Evening, the princess invited Jack to a quiet garden filled with fragrant blossoms and glowing lights. The air was cool and still, and the stars above sparkled like diamonds. "We owe you much," she said, sitting beside him. "Your courage and kindness have changed everything." Jack looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. "What happens now?" he asked. The princess smiled. "Now, we build a future together. Humans and aliens united by trust and friendship." Nodded. "I want to help. To learn. To protect." She reached out and took his hand gently. "You are one of us now." As the days grew into weeks, Jack found himself no longer a stranger, but a part of the kingdom's heart. He walked through the village, greeted by smiling faces and warm voices. The children ran to pet his glowing companion, and the elders shared stories of old. Welcoming him into their history, the pet often lay at Jack's feet, a symbol of the bond between worlds. One morning, as the sun rose high, Jack stood again at the edge of the forest, looking toward the horizon. He knew challenges would come. Enemies beyond the stars would not forget the power they had failed to take, but Jack felt ready, with the princess's trust, the warrior's friendship, and the pet's power. He was no longer alone. He was a protector, a bridge between worlds. As the wind whispered through the glowing leaves, Jack whispered back, "This is just the beginning."